Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Zenatan, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. Today, we got more cards. And we got a new type of effect, too. We got Prank today. And I don't know if I would say it's good or bad, but it's annoying. And I like annoying cards if I'm the one playing them. I hate it if it's getting played against me, but it seems fun. In other words, it's another type of hand disruption, soft hand disruption or something. I don't know how you exactly want to call it, but that's enough talking about the new mechanic. We got a lot of cards to look at today, and we got to talk about the new mechanic as well. So let's go and look at the cards. Okay, first off, the new card, or the new effect, the new mechanic, Prank. Prank itself is a non-collectible card. It's only generated by other cards at the moment. It is a 1-mana focus speed spell, Bandle City card. Pick one of two non-champion cards in the enemy's hand or deck and prank it. Now, what does this mean exactly? So, you will see two cards that are not champions, obviously. You will also see that they will have some kind of debuff that you can give one of those two cards. And you'll choose that card and it will get that debuff. There's a lot of clarification to go through, so bear with me for a minute. You only debuff that one specific card. You don't debuff all of the copies of the card. So if you're playing against, say, I don't know, Ionia, and you see a River Shaper, you're only debuffing that one River Shaper, not all of the River Shapers. Prank also prioritizes hitting the hand first and then the deck. So if you say, like, keeping the River Shaper, there's a River Shaper in hand and deck, it'll debuff the River Shaper in hand first. You can also prank the same card multiple times, so you can stack debuffs. Your opponent also will know exactly which card of theirs was pranked, and they can see what debuff you chose. You also can't prank a card. There is a limit to how much you can prank a card in terms of its debuffs. You can't prank something so it has less than 0 attack, and you can't prank a card to put it into unplayable range. For example, you can't make a unit 11 mana or higher or whatever, more than 10 mana in other words. Same with landmarks. And you can't prank a spell card to be more than 13 mana because that would make those cards unplayable. Now then, as for the debuffs, there's a lot of debuffs. I don't know if we have all of them, but the debuffs that I have found are, for example, giving a unit +2 cost, giving a unit -2 power. For spells and landmarks, giving them +2 cost. Back to units, giving them -1 power and making it so they can't block, or giving them -1 power and making it so they have vulnerable. And I'm pretty sure there's a few more that I haven't seen. Those are just the ones that I know are already guaranteed, that have been confirmed by Riot themselves. So, how is this effect? It's a very annoying effect. Is it good, though? Giving something +2 cost is very big. Like, that slows down decks a lot, and giving something can't block is really annoying as a control player. You have, like, a big card you're going to use as a defensive unit, like, say, Radiant Guardian, and then eventually your Radiant Guardian can't block. That's terrible. And then we all know just how annoying it is if something has vulnerable, because of things like Merciless Hunter and stuff. And going back to, like, the River Shaper example, giving stuff -2 power is not that big, but on certain units, it is very scary. -2 power on a River Shaper pretty much just completely deletes the River Shaper. Sure, that gets it to 0-2 that can block, but that's it. And it helps slow down aggro too. Not being able to hit champs is kind of fine. It kind of is painful to not be able to hit, like, a Draven with -2 power or something, but it's whatever. But yeah, how good is Prank going to be? I feel like Prank is going to depend on how it gets generated. If the cards that generate Prank cards are fine themselves, sure. Maybe it can be like some weird, like, aggressive deck that generates prank cards, and then you use the pranks to try and throw off your opponent's tempo as they try to mount a defense against you. I'm not sure. I don't know. I personally am hoping to do more of a control type prank by giving things vulnerable to use as like pseudo removal, making things cost more to try and stabilize my board, giving things less attack to try and slow down some aggro. I like it. Plus, I guess, of course, you can always mention pranks a spell, so there's spell synergy with things like Eye of the Dragon and Lee Sin and so on and so forth, so that's pretty cool too. Focus speed is nice, so you don't have to pass priority, so I'm a big fan of the prank mechanic and keyword. It's not really a keyword, just a card in general. I like it. I would love to see even more prank cards in the future than what we've seen today and even in this set. I hope it just doesn't become one of those things that it gets printed and then they just throw it away and never print more cards with prank on it. Anyway, that is the prank mechanic. I'm going to say keyword so much, but it's not actually a keyword. That's prank mechanic, prank card, whatever you want to call it. The next cards, though. How do I pronounce this? Benemone? I'm going to call it Benemone. 4 mana, 4/3 Bandle City card. When I'm summoned, create 2 pranks in hand. It's fine. 4 mana, 4/3 is kind of mediocre for a 4-drop. That's kind of the stats I expect from a 3-drop, but it does activate the create 2 cards synergy. The pranks themselves, I've already gone through exactly everything pranks do. I do like the value that pranks give you. They're cards you can throw away at the in a worst case scenario, something like Rummage or Get Excited, but I'd rather just play the prank myself. But, you know, sometimes you need the discard fodder. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think an aggro deck likes this, or a mid-range deck likes this. Maybe a control deck, but control decks, I feel the few units they do play want to have very, very defensive bodies, and this is not really a defensive body. I guess it trades nicely, but I'd rather have a 3/4 if I was playing this in a control deck. Honestly, I think this is going to be more of a expedition style card, unless maybe one of the champions, upcoming champions, has some kind of prank synergy, so you want to hit a critical mass of pranks and prank generators in your deck, so maybe then I could see it, but I'm not 100% certain on that. Next card. Conchologist. A manifest card. 2 mana, 2/2. It's a Yordle, also a Bandle City card. Play. Manifest a spell from your regions that cost 3 or less. Okay. Manifest, if you don't remember, is basically just discovered from Hearthstone. It will show you 3 cards. You choose one of those 3 cards. And it seems like most manifest cards have something to limit what they're getting. There's some kind of limiter. For example, here, it's limited to spells that cost 3 or less from your regions. We saw the Telescope, which was limited to a Celestial that cost 3 or less, an Epic, or a multi-region card. I like that. Kind of helps to keep the RNG from getting too crazy, so that's nice. Little hard to evaluate this card because Bandle City isn't completely spoiled yet, so we don't exactly know what cards from Bandle City this can generate. But outside of Bandle City, there are a lot of good spells from other regions. Whatever region you want to pair it with. So, like, you know, Mystic Shots, Rummages, Get Excited, Vile Feast, Go Hard. I can keep going. Twin Disciplines, Guiding Touch, Pale Cascade, so on and so forth. There's a lot of good, cheap stuff. I feel like you're always going to find a good spell here. Again, and then to keep going on with the examples, Freljord has all the combat tricks. You got like Troll Chance, Elixir of Iron, the freezes, just combat tricks in general, like Shape Stone, Sharp Side, etc., etc. So I'm a big fan of this card. I'm probably just going to play it as a 3-of, in all honesty, along with the Telescope, and maybe I am going to try and make some kind of weird manifest invoke style control deck that just tries to get lots of value. Compared to the Telescope that can manifest cards, it's got a more defensive body. I mean, it's objectively better because it's a 2/2 for 2, while the telescope is a 2/1 for 2. The telescope, though, has a potential to give you more late game potential because it can get epic cards. So you can get things like Commander Ladros, Howling Abyss, so on and so forth. All this is just limited to 3-cost spells or less, which there's like go hard as a win con, but it's not going to be too amazing. Mostly you're just going to get something to either... I feel like this is mostly going to be a control card. You're probably just going to get something to try and stave off aggro or get the most high value card if you're against a control player like Time Trick, I guess, or something if you see a Time Trick. But I'm a big fan of this card. Probably definitely up there in one of my favorite cards from that we've seen so far in the set reveal. Love this card. Next page. We got 2 more pages to go. A lot of cards here. More prank cards, too. First off, Kelp Maidens. 2-mana, 2/1, elusive. Nexus Strike, create a prank in hand. This is interesting. I'm always worried about 1-health elusives. But things like Greenglade Duo do see play, but Greenglade Duo can scale like crazy in the right deck. Basically, think like Zerarelia. I don't know. I think I'm a little scared, though, because of this card. From the card we saw, I believe it was yesterday, Bandle Commando, the 2-mana 1/2 elusive, that when it Nexus Strikes, it creates a Hungry Owlcat in hand. It seems like there's some really, I don't know how to say this, like a tempo-y, not full-on aggressive, but like some weird tempo-y card generation elusive deck, maybe just not even full-on elusive deck that they're trying to make in Bandle City, because the Bandle Commando creates the Owlcats. Kelp Maidens will create the pranks. Kelp Maiden I am a little less scared of than the Commando because I can ping it with things like Vile Feast and Go Hard and so on and so forth. But it's still annoying. You can only have so many pings compared to, say, like if your opponent's also playing, let's say, Ionia, and then you have to also think about like, okay, there's also Shadow Assassin. There's also Greenglade Duo. There's also Twin Disciplines to protect these cards, so it's a little scary. Please help out Demacia so I can play Sharpsight or something, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I'm a little terrified of Kelp Maidens. Very scary card, but I don't know how good it is. I think it's fine. 2-mana, 2/1 elusive is a playable card. And the Nexus Strike to create a prank in hand is fine. Like, unlike Invoke, Prank doesn't have a way to generate actual value because Invoke will just invoke units themselves to keep the gas flowing. And also the good boy, the doggo, whatever you want to call it, the 2-mana 2/2 that draws a card. The Messenger, if you want to go by the official name. That card just goes through and helps cycle through the deck and draw through more of your deck. Pranks don't actually draw cards or create units, generate board presence, if you will, so there's at least that, but it will slow down your opponent or make it so some units can't block or so on and so forth. So that's a little scary, but I'm not too scared. Speaking about Prank, next card, Otter Puss. 1-mana, 1/1, attune. It has Prank. That's it. Simple card. I don't think this card's good. The only reason I think you will play this card is in a Prank Matters deck. And that's it. I really, really feel like you're only going to play this card if there's a champion or maybe a card that says, like, if you've played, like, X amount of pranks, like 4 pranks or 5 pranks this game, do something really crazy. I guess you could also argue it's a cheap way to create a card for if you've created 2 or more cards, or if you've added 2 or more cards to your hand this game or this round synergy. So there's that, but there are other cheap ways to do that as well. It does have a tune, so you could also argue it's technically a 0-mana 1/1 that creates a prank. Yeah, I see it, but I'm not too impressed by this card. But yeah, I'm not just impressed enough by this card. I'm not a fan of it, but again, the only reason I can see this card getting played is a Prank Matters deck. Next card. I don't know how to evaluate this card. Shark Trainer. 7-mana, 6/6. It's a Yordle. It's also a Bilgewater Vandal City multi-region card. It also has a tune. Did I say that already? Maybe I did. Pretty decent stat line, first off, but it's a 7 drop. It needs to have a decent stat line. Doesn't need to. It needs, more importantly, it needs to have a good effect. When allies attack, spend 1 spell mana to summon an attacking short tooth. So I assume this means if you have no spell mana, you don't get a short tooth. So even if you have mana, but none of that mana is actually spell mana, I assume you won't get a short tooth. Short tooth, you can see on the right, is a 1 mana 4/2 overwhelm. Pretty solid card. This card, the Shark Trainer, also doesn't have to attack in, so it can just sit on the back lines in case you're worried about it trading away, which it's a 6/6 for 7, which, I don't know, 6/6 is a pretty big ball of stats. And I guess it having a tune does almost guarantee you will always have at least 1 spell mana the first time it comes down, so that's nice. So I feel like I like this card. I don't think it's strong. I don't think it's even constructed playable, but I like it. I like what it's doing, and I do like the whole I'm gonna generate short tooth. I'm gonna keep saying shark tooth by mistake, but I like that it's gonna try to generate short tooths over and over in multiple rounds. And you could also argue since it's in Bilgewater, you can do like a weird scout deck to create numerous short tooths with multiple attacks. Multi-region card again, like I said, so you can technically not even play Bandle City at all, just play like Misfortune, Irelia, Blade Dance with Shark Trainer as a top end. That's a really clunky, very expensive top end, but it might get there. Maybe. I'm not expecting it to get there, but I can see the potential with this card. Again, I really feel like the problem with this card is just a little too expensive, but removal is kind of mediocre. So, meh. This does feel like a card, though, that if it does get removed before you even get a single attack in, you're going to be extremely sad. It's a huge tempo loss if you don't even get 1 attack in. So say like Will of Ionia, Thermogenic Beam. If Control gets any better, Ruinations, of course. So, I don't know. I'm a little worried. But for this card, I'm a little worried for this card. But I don't want to see this card get playable because it seems like the kind of card I hate. Because Short Tooth seems like it's going to be annoying. It's kind of hard to deal with, kind of hard to remove. The Short Tooth itself is going to just stay on the board unless you remove it. Can't really ping it down with a Vile Feast or a Withering Whale or anything. Gonna need like an Avalanche or something to get rid of it, and then you still have to deal with the Shark Trainer. Really annoying card. But again, the saving grace here to keep me from being too scared of this card is it's 7 mana. It's really expensive, and at 7 mana for the kind of deck that wants to be playing this card, I feel like they'd rather try to be winning the game with things like Burn or elusive aggressive units or rallies or whatever. So not too worried about this card, but it looks like it might have a home in the future. It's a powerful effect that's somewhat unique, to put it simply. Next card. Next page, sorry. The last 3 cards. I like some of these cards. I hate the others. Tricksy Tentacles. Simple card here. 2 mana, fast spell, Bandle City only card. Your opponent discards their lowest cost card. Okay. I don't think it's playable. At least, I don't think it's playable in Constructed. In Expedition, it's fine filler, I guess. But let's look at Hunt the Weak from... what's it called? Noxus. Hunt the Weak from Noxus was a 2 mana, your opponent discards their... I want to say it was the weakest follower. So it can't hit champions, and it only hits followers, and it's slow speed. Sometimes you get some good value, or was it? Actually, let me look it up now. That's going to bother me if I don't look it up now, so let me actually look it up. So, Hunt the Weak, it is specifically... Yeah, it does. Your opponent discards the weakest follower from hand. Sometimes you would just run into decks that just have no unit in hand anymore, and they would just... You'd play a 2 mana do nothing. This card, I'd say, is better than Hunt the Weak overall. Does that make it playable? I'd say no. Um, I'm not a big fan of this card. I like hand disruption. I like discard, like making enemies discard. I'm just not a big fan of this card. I'm not a big fan of it at all, is the thing. It's cute how it's fast speed on like slow speed, so you can play it in response to an opponent's like skill or spell, so it doesn't technically pass priority. Since it just hits lowest cost card instead of a specific card like Hunt the Weak doesn't, well, Hunt the Weak hits followers. This could also technically hit champions, it could hit spells, so you're probably not going to whiff. But you could also say, like, well, since it also hits any card, it could also hit things like Draven's spinning axes, in which case you're really sad. And then you have like the worst case scenario where it hits something your opponent wants to discard, like a Flame Chompers or I don't know, a Stress Testing or something. And then you're even more sad. You just spent 2 mana to give your opponent an advantage, which is terrible. So yeah, I'm not a fan of this card. The only reason I would ever play this in Constructed is if I get it off of like a Manifest or some other card generates it somehow, but I would never put this into my deck itself unless there's a really, really weird meta that makes me want to play this as like some kind of weird anti-meta card. But even then, I'm not too impressed by it. Now then, the next card, Shell Game. 5 mana burst speed spell. Bandle City only card. Refill your spell mana. Give an ally elusive and +1/+1 this round. I hate it. I hate it not because I think it's bad. I hate it because I hate playing against elusives. Burst speed spell, so you don't pass priority. That's pretty good. Refilling spell mana, so you could argue it's technically a 2 mana card, but it's not really. But yeah, this is a really annoying card. I don't think it's actually good, but I find it annoying. Back to what I said earlier, it really does feel like there's a elusive style Bandle City deck coming out there. This card with like Nexus Strike cards can get really annoying. You could put it on just a big unit in general as a finisher. I'm a little scared of this card. I don't think you would play it as like a 3 of in a deck, but I could see it as like a 1 to a 2 of in the right deck as a finisher, a pseudo finisher. This could be really annoying too if you are in like some kind of deadlock with your opponent, and then your opponent plays like a manifest and they manifest Shell Game, and then you just lose the card because they use their manifested Shell Game on a really big unit, and you just die. Outside of that, though, I don't know. It's only a temporary buff too, so that's good. I mean, it's bad for the card. It's good for anyone who doesn't want to see this card see play. I don't know. You can also say like, oh, you can use it defensively too. Use it to give something elusive. Yes, I can see that. Like, use it as like a janky sharp sight. That's a really expensive combat trick, though. I'll say that much, though. But I don't know. I only think like I don't think this is a control card. I'll say that. I don't think you should play this as a control combat trick because unless you're using the elusive text, 5 mana, arguably 2 mana to give you unit +1/+1 is terrible. So I think this is a more aggressive / mid-rangey card, just a way to give something elusive and get a win right away. And the last card, another card, I like it. Trinket Trade. 1 mana burst speed spell. Manifest an Otterpuss or one of 2 spells from your regions that cost 3 or less. I like this card. I don't know exactly what kind of deck I'll play this in. Maybe a Lee Sin Bandle City deck. It's a burst speed spell, so it's a spell synergies. So I have the Dragon and Lee like this. Helps out with the create a card synergy archetype that seems to be a thing in upcoming set. I like it. Otterpuss, if you don't remember, you could just rewind the video, but it's the 1 mana 1/1 attune that says when it's summoned, create a prank in hand. So I assume you'll see 3 cards. one of them will be an otter plus, and the other two will be 2 random spells. I like it. I don't know. I'm a big fan of this card. I just don't know exactly what deck I'm gonna play this in. That's the issue. Like, I don't think this is an aggro style card. And I'm not even sure if it's a mid-range card. Like, is it a control card? A spells that matter card? I guess it's a really annoying card for a Fizz deck to play. Like, it's a 1 mana way to keep Fizz safe, and it's a burst speed spell at that. So that's nice for Fizz decks, but I don't want Fizz decks to become good again. But yeah, I like the card. Good versatility to it. Real cheap, and it's burst speed, so you can use it to burst speed pass to your opponent, which is always fun. Very cool card. Also, and the prank mechanic too. Love the mechanic. Little RNG, but I don't think it's too heavy RNG. It feels like they're really trying to hold the RNG back, especially with some of these manifest cards, how they're limiting the manifest to a certain variable, whether it's like only spells that cost a certain amount, only a certain rarity, etc., etc. It seems like they're trying to prevent what happened in Hearthstone with the Discover mechanic, where it just became like, oh, it's just RNG bonanza going through. Maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you think this is a little too much RNG. Maybe you like these cards. Maybe you hate some of these cards. Maybe you think some of these cards are busted and I just can't see it. Like, maybe you think Kelp Maidens or the Shark Trainers much better than I'm giving them credit for. Same with Shell Game. I'd love to hear your comments down below. If you guys just enjoyed the video in general, I would love it if you could leave a like or a comment down below anyway. Also, if you want to keep up with the Legends of Runeterra content, you can always go and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can always go and check me out over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Senaton. I stream there pretty much every single day. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all once more for watching this video. And until I see you guys in the next one, bye!